So on the last video, we talked about how to get the rib cage to move through its full range of motion using a humming type exhale. Today we want to try to get that same rib cage movement, but do it with a nasal breath. So in through our nose and out through our nose. What we're looking for is why we are so intrigued with trying to get the rib cage to move through its full range of motion is when the rib cage moves, that is what allows our diaphragm, so our big breathing muscle here at the top of our rib cage, and our pelvic floor, so that kind of sits in the bowl of our pelvis, that is what's going to allow both of those muscles to move through their full range of motion and really help us to get into that rest and digest or parasympathetic mode. So this is what we're going to be going over today, is really trying to get that same rib cage mobility, not using our hands or humming, but trying to just feel it with our breath. So I'm going to have us lay on our back. And what I want you to focus on is I want you to take the slowest inhale you possibly can. Even when you think you're going slow, I want it to be slower. A cue I like to use is pretend that your nostril hairs are not even moving because you're breathing in so slowly. So all we're focusing on is one, that slow inhale, and two, we're trying to focus on the longest exhale you possibly can. Even when you think you're out of air, there's always some still left in you, and I want you to keep exhaling even if nothing's coming out. That is when the ribs really start to move in the direction we need on that exhale. So I have a rib flare, so you can kind of see these bumps right down here at the bottom of my ribs. This is for me not having good breathing patterns for most of my life, but it makes for a good way to see how much these ribs should move with the breathing. And what you should notice is that they actually flatten completely with my stomach when I get to the end of the exhale. So if you have a rib flare, that's something you can use to know if you're really getting that full exhale completed. So what we're going to do is we are going to just go in through our nose and out through our nose. I want you to put the tongue on the roof of your mouth right behind your teeth. So if you were to say na 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 na, that's where I want your tongue resting this whole time, okay? So just to show you, I want you to pay attention down here at my lower ribs. This is where you're gonna see a lot of movement, but also just like in the last video, we do want our ribs up here to move as well. And what we're looking for is that our ribs move down, so they depress, meaning they're going down towards my thighs, and they also retract, meaning they are going back towards the floor. So we want both the upper and lower ribs to be moving down towards our thighs and back towards the floor. All right, so I'm just going to show you a couple breaths here just so you can see the movement at the rib cage. Okay, hopefully you could see those ribs dropping down. On my first breath, I took a really quick inhale, and that's what people are gonna want to do, okay? So really try to slow it down. My second and third inhales, I really tried to slow it down, try to make that air come through your nose as slowly as you possibly can. And that helps to really allow the rib cage to expand in 360 degrees because that diaphragm is really contracting, okay? You can practice breathing through your nose, just like I showed, or you can even start to do some exhales through your mouth. I always like to start people with a nice soft fog or a sigh, so just opening their mouth. And really just letting the air fall out. That's gonna help to get just a little bit more abdominals, especially the obliques kicking on, to help pull those ribs down. So that's something else you can try. The last thing you would have noticed is I started to hold up my fingers towards the end of the exhale, okay? All that was just showing that I was adding in a pause. Now, when you're first starting this, it might be very hard to do the pause. Your body is gonna be in freak out mode, telling you to inhale as quickly as you can. The more you practice this and your body gets used to getting this full exhale, the easier it's gonna be to really slow down your breath. Take a nice slow inhale, but also start to add in that pause. So that pause at the end of the exhale really helps the diaphragm to give it a little bit more time to get back up in its lengthened position, so that on the next inhale, it can fully contract and really pull in even more air into the lungs than it was before. So start adding in that pause as it feels comfortable, okay? You're not gonna get there right away, but the more you practice it, the easier it will be. So just to reiterate, tongue on the roof of the mouth, right behind the teeth. Try to get in a nice relaxed position. Take the slowest inhale you possibly can and give me the longest exhale you possibly can. And really think, even when you think you've gone far enough, exhale a little bit more, because there's always more left in your rib cage. So really, like I said, if you do that, you're really gonna start to feel that rib cage moving, and that's what we need to get the diaphragm and pelvic floor to go through that full range of motion. So go ahead and give that a try. Give it a couple minutes a day, and you'll really start to notice a difference in all areas of your life.